No brick, no mortar. What is the difference in joining a cloud-based brokerage? So traditional brick and mortar brokerages, of course, you'll have a secretary at the front desk. They'll be taking care of the phone calls that come in. They'll be there 9 to 5, roughly those hours. You can walk in with a contract of purchase and sale that you just signed with a buyer and all of the required documents, and you can put it on the desk and you can walk away and it's taken care of. Now, some brokerages have support like this, but not all do, of course. Some will have varying degrees of this. Some will still say, no, I need you to get those documents into SkySlope, but I'll be answering the phone calls at the front desk. But some brokerages will essentially do all of the paperwork filing for you. And this allows an agent to be very hands-off with portions of the business. And this is great for some people and some agents. And for some people, that is essential. That is how I operate my business, and that is how I expect it to keep on going. I don't want to be scanning and emailing PDFs. Now, at Real, we have tons of support by means of our network of thousands of agents nationwide. Our managing brokers support us. Our online tech support is there. We have Leo. It's an AI assistant that is improving leaps and bounds almost every single month. There's new updates coming. But we do not have a secretary sitting behind a desk that we can walk up to and slap down some paperwork and walk away. There are plenty of people I can reach out to for help, but there's not someone there to do that for myself, for my team, or for any Real agent. So because we don't have that physical secretary to walk up to, what do we have? What is the solution? Well, we have our app, and that is called Reason. Now, when you hear the word app, my brain automatically goes to app on my cell phone. And my first concern is, I don't want to be fiddling with contracts and property disclosure statements on a screen that's this big. You can access everything from your phone, but it's also an application that's accessed from any computer, any tablet as well. So it is super easy. If you're at all concerned about it or you're curious, I do have video in my channel here, an introductory look at Reason, and I go through all the tabs and talk about it. It's a little bit dry, but some people really want to see how the nuts and bolts work, so it's there to take a peek. So with Reason, we upload our documents and essentially file them with our brokerage. So we create a transaction and it has a checklist and it says, put the title here, put the contract here, put the property disclosure statement here. And you have to be able to drag and drop it into each of those sections. And then once it's there for our managing broker to review. And they go through and they see if anything's missing. Oh, you missed an initial here. Or they say compliant and you get a big green check mark. Now, what about if you need to meet a client and sign documents? What are the options? And I know this was a concern for me. At times, I would meet people at the office. We'd go to the boardroom. We'd have a buyer consult. We'd have a listing consult. We would sometimes write an offer right in the office. So the concern is real. I won't be able to meet them at the office and have the conversations that I used to have and sign the documents sitting in the boardroom. And then I won't be able to go over to the scanner and email it to the front desk. And all of this is true. But there are solutions. So when I meet a client now, I'll meet them at their home 95% of the time, especially if it's a listing. We just, hey, I have to come see the home anyways. Let me meet you there. Or if it's a buyer or the scenario calls for it, I'll meet them at a coffee shop or somewhere nearby that's convenient. So there's other options, of course. If it's really imperative to you, you can rent your own office space if it's desired, or there's shared workspaces. That's a business model that's expanding now too. Just Google your city shared workspace. Now, I know some agents also, they have a local lawyer or a notary nearby that might have a boardroom available, and you can develop a relationship with them. Ask them, hey, is it okay if I use your boardroom at times for client meetings? And I'll call and say, hey, we're coming by at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Does that work? And then the client would, of course, have this soft introduction into that lawyer or that notary's office. And then when it comes time for conveyancing of a sale, the odds that they would be using that, that office would be greatly increased. So it could be a mutual benefit to establish that relationship and share that office. Now, I will say that in the last over 2 years of being with Real, This really has not been an issue. I have had clients, and it does happen. Hey, well, I'll just meet at your office. So I then explain that, well, I'm with a cloud-based brokerage and I don't have a physical office other than my home address, and then just suggest an alternative meeting spot. Typically it is, again, at the house. Maybe if it is a buyer, we'll meet them at the house and we'll go over some paperwork, some documents before we go into the home at the address. But ideally, I do like to meet at a coffee shop first, just so that we can have 10, 15 minutes. I can get to feel them out. Now, I've never lost a client after explaining this to them. No one says, you don't have an office to meet at? No, thank you. Sometimes after showing a home, someone will say, well, let's go to your office and write up the offer. And I just navigate this by saying, you know what, it'll take me some time to prepare the offer and to get all the documents in order. So let me grab your email address, your contact information, then you can carry on with your day, and you'll allow me the, several hours that it takes to really prepare everything and get everything in order. And once I have everything done, I'll just send it your way to electronically sign. That works 95% of the time. Sometimes they'll say, you know what, I really prefer to sign in person on paper, and that's totally fine. And so for that reason, I bought a mobile printer. And it can also scan, although I have a far better option for scanning if you need it to scan. But the mobile printer sits in my vehicle. It does have a battery. The battery does go dead because I don't use it that often, but I can just plug it into my car and run it off my car's power. I've used it, I think, 3 or 4 times. And every time it does get me out of a bind. So for me, it works. But again, there's other options. Perhaps you can just run back to your home office and print things out. Sometimes I've even emailed things to Staples and then they print it out and I run in there and it's, 5-10 cents a piece of paper. But you can go get things printed out quickly that way too. So in short, you'll no longer have access to the boardroom at your brokerage, the meeting room that you had at your brick and mortar brokerage. So to some people, this is a deal breaker, and that's fair enough. That's just a business decision that you have to make. You just have to weigh out the pros and cons and make that decision and decide what is best for me as an agent. What do I actually need? What do I require? Is it worth spending $1,000, $1,500 a month to be able to meet people on occasion in the boardroom? It may be. That's up to you. Does that provide some sense of legitimacy to yourself and to your business? Maybe it does, and that's totally fair enough. Now, what about no longer having access to the office's printer, scanner, copier? I was actually more worried about that than access to the boardroom. So again, having that mobile printer, it saved my butt. So for scanning documents, you won't have that office scanner anymore. I use an app called Genius Scanner on my phone. It's free. It works super efficiently and well. It doesn't even put in a watermark on the PDFs. You open up Genius Scanner and you say, start your thing, start scanning. And it uses the camera on your phone. And you hold your phone over the document and it automatically finds the borders of that document and puts a rectangle around them. And you push scan and then it just takes a picture. And it actually makes it look more like white and black, not just like a photo. It generates it to look more like a document, an actual PDF. And then you just take as many photos as you want. If it's 8 pages, if it's 50 pages. And then when you're done, you say email. And you type in your email address or anywhere you want to send it, and it emails that as a PDF. Highly recommended. Solves so many problems. I have a scanner in my office. I don't use it. I just whip out my phone and use that because it's faster, it's easier, it's better. So what else is different about being at a cloud-based brokerage? Well, your office meetings, of course, they'll all be online. During COVID, I was with a brick and mortar brokerage, and we, of course, had to shut down all in-office meetings at that time. We essentially morphed into a cloud-based brokerage during that time period. And it showed me that it was certainly possible and it was a viable alternative, and life went on and business happened and houses sold. So at Real, we have weekly brokerage meetings specific to our province. And then we have weekly mastermind groups also for our province. And then we have monthly It's called Real Connect. It's a meeting of the entire brokerage that can hop onto a Zoom meeting. It's kind of what's happening at Real, what's the news, what can you look forward to? And it keeps all of us connected. And then, of course, over the course of a week, we have over 30 different masterminds and training seminars all on Zoom. And there's a schedule for it. You can go online and say, you know what, I want to do some YouTube training and some open house training. It'll be in your calendar and it'll be an hour long and you can hop on. So there's actually more training available in my experience at Real. But of course, it is online. It is on Zoom. We do have physical in-person meetups as well. There's our yearly Rise convention, which I recently attended, and I go every single year. If you just go back a few videos, you'll see a recap in Vegas. So it's a fantastic experience. I highly recommend going if possible. Overall, we are a very connected community, but you do still have to put out some effort forward to be part of the community, to feel connected. So just like if you're at a brick and mortar brokerage, but never actually walked into the office and never went to any office meetings, you would feel disconnected. So is it at Real. If you don't attend any of the meetings or the meetups, you certainly could feel disconnected from the company and from what's actually going on. So to recap, not having a physical office to go into is not for everybody. It is a viable alternative, and the COVID time period proved that to me personally. And after being at Real for over 2 years, I personally feel that it is more than just a viable alternative, but it's actually the best fit. It's an excellent fit for me personally. But again, it might not be for you. So if you'd like to have a conversation to feel out whether or whether it might not be a good fit for you, feel free to reach out to me. We can have a chat. All my contact information is on my website below.